For sisters, brothers, thank you so much for being here this week. We have Larry Davis with us, and as I record his interview, it is actually January the 8th, 2024. How is your 2024 rolling so far this year? I just opened edits. They've been ready for months, but I just opened edits of my novel forthcoming in August and started working on that. So that's what's been new with me this week. Additionally, I got a fun, I've been working, of course, my true crime job and got to meet with my coworkers in person this week, which was so much fun. If you work remotely and you always thought that that was the very thing you've always waited for, I think, I don't know, let me know if you've experienced this, but it gets lonely not talking to real people, your coworkers. It gets, not knowing who they are or what they're like, having a work family only through software. It has its place and I am thrilled for it, but it was really fun to meet them in person. So that was kind of exciting. Other than that, it's been a cold and quiet week on my end. I'm looking forward to speaking with Larry. We are over 150 episodes now on Persistence U. And Larry will talk a little bit about the shakeup that happened in his life after he went through a divorce and what he decided to do to make sure that this wasn't just something that happened for no good reason, to help to, allow that horrible situation to help transform him rather than completely knock him down. So I look forward to meeting with Larry, and I always love hearing from you. You can join me at lameredith.com and hop on my email list where I am now down to about once a month, typically, where I email just to stay in touch, let you know about new writing, what's going on with books and the podcast. So do join. I would love it. I will be right back with Larry. Larry Davis, thank you for being on Persistence U this week. I very much appreciate your time, and gosh, help us get to know you a little bit better before you
Well,
tell us the story.
yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here, and I'm excited to have this conversation with you. Yeah. Larry Davis. I am a coach, speaker, and podcaster. I live in Texas. I'm married, and I have two kids. And so, kind of how my story is. I'm originally from Mississippi. Joined the military. Uh, did 20 years, and then now I do speaking, coaching, and podcasting. Um, so I married my high school sweetheart, right? And we were married for like 14 years, and then I guess the bottom kind of fell out. But I think it was I say the bottom fell out, but I think the bottom was already falling out all of those years because I was a young man and I didn't quite know what I was doing, and and so I kind of went through. We ended up divorcing after 14 years, and that's when I realized how much I didn't know, how much I was really immature. I didn't have a lot of wisdom, and I guess I was just kind of flying by the seat of my pants. And so went through the divorce itself was pretty amicable, but it was just afterwards is when I fell into a deep depression. And so me and her didn't really have any turbulent relationship. It's just I fell into a deep depression afterwards, just kind of realizing I was convicted of things that I probably could have done better. And my biggest conviction, and I don't know if I can call this a conviction, but was realizing how much I just did not know. And how I kind of overcame that is I was trying to discover myself and try to pull myself out of that depression. And so I started seeking books to read and things like that. And and as I started reading and just and watching videos and things like that, I started to understand how things I could have learned these things before, but I just didn't have the mentors to guide me in the right direction. And so that's kind of what happened, and that's what kind of led me to where I am today.
I like it. When you think about it, though, think about how young you were. And a decision like marriage, I mean, I've thought about this a lot because I also married and the marriage did not work out. And I, thought I was ready to do it, all of those things. But man, it is the most important decision. One of the most important decisions you could ever make is the person you choose to spend your life with. And the human brain isn't fully developed till we're in our mid to late 20s. Why are we allowed to get married so young? What is the rush? So when you
Yeah.
look back, do you give yourself some grace because you were very young?
I do give myself some grace. I went to when I went to therapy, my therapist told me to write two letters. And she said the first letter is you need to write to your younger self, because I was actually 19 years old when I got married. So 19 years old, and so my therapist told me to write two letters. One letter was to myself, to my 19-year-old self, and it was to forgive myself for not knowing what he was doing, right? And so in the letter, I just kind of spelled that out. I kind of, I said, I forgive you. You didn't know what you was doing. You didn't know what you didn't know, and I forgive you. And that was because that was my biggest hangup, is I just couldn't forgive myself. And so
Wow.
that letter really helped me. And then the other letter was me kind of going back as a 19-year-old and writing a letter to my future self and saying, "Hey, man, you're gonna go through this. You're gonna go through this, and I put you through this, and I'm sorry that I put you through this. I'm sorry that my mistakes, or the things that I did has an effect on you today." And so that was really, really helpful. And I hope just me sharing that is helpful to somebody today who maybe going through something like
Sure.
that. Those letters
That's
really, really helped me.
powerful.
Yeah,
That's really powerful. So you did that. You didn't have any resistance to it. You just went ahead and wrote those out. That's fantastic.
yeah.
Also sounds like you had a really good relationship with your therapist too.
I did. I really enjoyed my time with her. It was good.
Good. And a lot of people, and especially men, are not necessarily wanting to run to a therapist at times. I mean, think a lot of people still have a little stigma. So I'm glad you brought that up because it doesn't sound like that was something that you would allow to hold yourself back.
No, I didn't. I did not allow that to hold me back. And I think, and if I can address the stigma, this is my belief. I think the thing with men is men have a hard time doing things like going to a therapist, is because men, first of all, sometimes they don't know how, and I don't want to generalize, but sometimes they don't know how to express themselves. And that's
Mhm.
not, and we're ashamed of that, but it's really a skill. It's not, it's a skill. It's a skill to develop. And
True.
because we may not have that skill, we kind of are ashamed of it. And so that's one reason. And then the other reason men have a hard time with doing things like going to therapy is because we're so competitive, and and just kind of the way we're made, we we don't want other people to know that we failed at something, or we don't want other people to know that we don't know it all. We don't know something. And that's sometimes we get in our own way as men, because we don't like to, and that's why sometimes we don't really talk to each other, because we don't want to and that's the competitive nature in us, that we don't want to share with another brother that, hey man, I'm failing, and women, they do that. Women will talk to each other and cry together and do all that and just share all of their failures and everything, and men don't necessarily do that, because we don't want the other man to know that I'm failing in an area. And so
Right.
those things like that hinder us, and I just decided I didn't want that to hinder me, you know.
I love that. I love that. I mean, you were right. We women, we will talk about it. We will talk more about it. Then when you think we're done, we'll talk a little bit more even. But it prevents isolation. And I have to say that when we're going through something hard, one of the worst things for people to do is to feel like they're alone in their misery. And when you look at life expectancy of men to women, I mean, I kind of wonder if that doesn't factor in. We are unpacking trauma as life goes on. we don't necessarily walk away from it silently. And so it is, I'm really glad that you felt free to just forget about that competitiveness or trying to look like you had it all together when none of us do. None of us totally
Right.
do.
Yeah. And that's what things like that, that's what kind of drove me to sharing my story with others. And because I wanted to share my story with other men and let them know, hey man, it's okay to, it's okay to fail actually. And and this whole, thing, I always like to let men know that, or just anybody know that, you have to change your relationship with failure. Sometimes failure, and this is what I learned that I had to go through what I went through, or what I went through was used for the purpose of bringing me to where I am today, and just shifting my perspective. And what happened with me is, as I started reading books and I started kind of understanding things, and I just got a little more wisdom, I understood that what happened to me wasn't uh, meant to just take me out. It was meant to strengthen me. It was meant for me to learn that resilience. It was meant for me to learn perseverance, and it was also meant for me to grow as a person. And so when I realized that, when I realized that, I really started reading more and just kind of understanding, and then just kind of being introspective on, okay, how did this actually, allow me to grow? And that's when I realized that, okay, I'm supposed to share this with others. And that's kind of how I got started with, with coaching and speaking, is realizing that I have to share this with others, because I think the thing I was always looking for someone to mentor me in a way, but I just didn't know that I was looking for that, because I would always try to seek information. I guess I just didn't know where to go to seek the information, right? And it just didn't occur to me to pick up a book and read a book. It never occurred to me. And
Right.
I would say prior to 10 years ago, I didn't pick up any book. Like after I left school, I didn't pick up books. I didn't read at all. And so, and prior to, so 10 years ago, I wouldn't read a coloring book. But
Right.
today, today I'm an avid reader, because I realized that, you know, the the other thing too, I realized that the more you learn, the more you understand that how much you don't know. You know,
Right.
some of
Yes.
us, we try to learn to know something, but
Right.
I've realized that the more you learn or the more you read, the more you understand what you don't know, and there's more
Right.
to learn. So yeah, so
I love it. That is fantastic. Now, did it help your relationship even more with that was already formidable with your former wife?
yeah, it did. It did. And we both realized, hey, we both realized we didn't know what we were doing. We're friends now. Everything's great. And so that definitely helped with our relationship. And and we have, we co-parent pretty well.
Mhm.
And so yes, it was really helpful. We didn't At the end of it all, we didn't really blame each other at the end of it all.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge. And that's probably so important to the success of a future relationship. So
Yeah.
eventually you did get remarried.
I
And
did. Yes, I did get remarried.
yes, talk a
Yeah.
little bit about that if you wanted to share a little bit about how this whole transformation process helped you to, enter into a union between adults who have gone through some things.
Yeah, yeah. So I think the biggest thing for me is just for that what I went through allowed me to prepare myself even before I met my current wife, prepare myself to first of all be a better man, and then
Mhm.
second of all to be a better husband. Like, you know, I really focused on who am I? Who am I? How can I be better? Because even though I know, I'm not perfect, and I know that I'm not going to be perfect, and no one is perfect, and whoever she was, she's not going to be perfect. So I understood that, but this process allowed me to now now I understand when I'm going in situations, and when I'm going in big life situations, like you said earlier, like a marriage is a big, it's a big
Yes.
thing. I understood that I need to be more prepared. I understood that I need to um, understand who I am in this season, understand what I need, and understand how I'm supposed and what I'm supposed to do, and how I'm supposed to serve that person. And so all those things help me to go in it with a clear head, and it also helped me to realize all the conversations that need to be had during the premarital phase. Premarital counseling was huge for us. We did two separate. Well, we actually did three things. We went to two different counselors for premarital, and then we also took it was like a class. It was called like a marriage prep class that we took. And so and I, not to say those things are gonna, or a silver bullet, but those things definitely help prepare us to have the necessary conversations and to just realize the impact of what we're going into. So I think all that was really helpful.
I like it, and it just shows how committed you were to being intentional. Because you only, when you're young, you don't know that you should be. Everyone
Yes.
gets married. When you're young, you think everyone gets married. Isn't that the next step? That's just what we do. And now that you're, more mature, like everyone might get married, but they might not stay married. And I want to be staying married and
Yeah.
doing everything to set yourself up for success. That's excellent.
Yeah.
So
Something you
now,
said. I'm
go
sorry, I
ahead.
didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
Something
I
you
love it.
you said the word intentional. I'm glad
Mhm.
you said that because that intentionality is what I learned through my process of growing. I learned intentionality, and I'm intentional in every area of my life now as a result of the things that I went through. I'm intentional with my morning routine when I wake up in the morning. My reading and meditating and all those things. I'm intentional with that. Um, I'm intentional with my day, or how I schedule my day, and then I'm intentional with the things that I say in my relationship. And so my current wife, she she told me that was like the biggest quality that she fell in love with is my intentionality. That's what made her fall in love with me. She was like, "You're so intentional. I haven't met anybody as intentional as you." And she's like, "I didn't have to wonder, what you were thinking. I didn't have to wonder what you thought about me, and I didn't have to wonder what you thought about our relationship or where we're going." And so, I was intentional, and I led her through that process of, okay, this is where I feel like we're going. What do you think? And so I'm glad you said that because that's the quality that stood out to her the most.
Right? If it's such an important decision, it needs that planning, it needs that communication, and it needs all of that energy to discuss the various things. So that's fantastic. Congratulations.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
now what are some of the, give us some scenarios of your day-to-day work life with other men who are learning some of these skills.
Yeah, so now I speak with other men on right now I really speak on other men on mindset specifically. Mindset and just whether you want to grow in your career or your finances or your relationships, you need to have a certain mindset so that you can experience growth,
Mhm.
in that area because I think it's all about continuing to grow. What I didn't do as a young person because when I was younger, I just kind of grew as my age grew, but I didn't grow mentally. And so,
Right.
yeah, and that's important. And so that's kind of how what I work with a lot of men today with just our mindset and, understanding that you have to have a mindset that you want to grow. You have to have a mindset that you're going to be intentional. And, and what I mean by mindset is, it's just that, your basic beliefs and your attitudes about how you view yourself and how you view the world around you, you know? And so, because your mindset it's like a filter. It influences how we handle everything. It influences how we handle challenges, how we handle setbacks, and how we handle opportunities. And so those are some of the things that I work with a lot of guys today. Is just that mindset because it really matters. And I think that sometimes we don't recognize how much that what we think and the way we think how much it matters because it's all
Right.
about perspective. Because if you can get the right perspective on something, you can start to make better decisions when you have the right perspective. So,
And you'll react less and be intentional more. So instead of like reflexively doing what you've always done, now you can make a different roadmap to have that relationship you want. I mean, that's
Exactly.
fantastic.
Exactly.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Well, tell us a little bit more about like how do people reach out to you to work with you? What's the best way that listeners can connect with you and see about working with you, see what you're up to?
Yeah. So the best way to connect with me is on my Instagram, and my Instagram is I am LA Davis, and you can just go there. There's everything there. You can DM me. The story highlights is there. My podcast is there. There's a link there that you can click to go to. I think I have a right now. I have like a 7-day devotional that you can use. It's
Great.
about mindset. The devotional is about mindset, and so it's a 7-day devotional. There's a link right on my Instagram that you can click that link, and you can get that 7-day devotional sent straight to your inbox. And so if you just go there to my Instagram, I am LA Davis, and you can reach me, and you can see what I have going on.
Perfect. Wonderful. I can't thank you enough. And congratulations, by the way. How long have you been married now?
So I've been married now. It's less than a year actually. I got married April of last year.
Excellent. Well, congratulations. And also, it's not easy
Thank you.
marrying young and then navigating your way out of many years together. And it sounds like you did a really good job with that, and that, you know, uh, it's sometimes not ideal, but on the other hand, it wasn't wasted. You did not waste that experience. You've used it to help serve other people.
No, no,
So
I
that's
I don't I now realize that it was not a wasted experience at all, and I realized that it actually when I went through that process, I felt like, oh my God, this is the worst. It was the
yes.
worst. I was like, this is the worst thing in my life. But today, the way I view it and my perspective is that's the best thing that ever happened to me. And obviously I don't wish that I would have got divorced, and
Right.
I don't wish that my children have to go between separate homes and all that. I don't wish that and I don't wish that on anybody else. But what I mean by the best thing that happened to me is it's made me and it snapped me into the man that I am today. I
Mhm.
wish I could have learned it another way, but it is
Hey,
what it is, and I'm here today. And that's why I say it's the best thing that happened to me because it made me who I am today, and it made me uh, realize that I needed to grow and develop. So
I think that's excellent. It was the precipitating event, the instigator. So fantastic. I'm really glad for you and for your family. And thank you so much. I hope you will stay in touch. And again, let's see, it's I am ladavis.com on Instagram.
yes, yep,
Did I get that right?
you got it right. Yep,
Perfect.
that's it.
Perfect. Well, it is so good to meet you. And I thank you for being here.